It can work either way. There's the version where you write the part and then you find the actor who can deliver it. And then there's the version where you have the actor and you create something that fits them. The way it happened in The Connector is not unlike a lot of musicals that get developed in New York these days. In most cases now, when I'm doing a reading or a workshop of a new musical, I don't actually get to have auditions. We might get a list of names to give us some ideas, but auditions are very expensive and time-consuming. So what often happens is we just start calling people we already know. And a lot of the cast ends up being people we've either worked with before or people we have a personal relationship with. In our final cast for The Connector at MCC, of the 13 actors, 8 of them were people Sherm or Daisy or I had asked to be part of a reading somewhere along the way. None of them ever auditioned for the show. One of those 8 people was Max Crumm.
Merry Christmas, Merry Christmas, Merry Christmas.
I knew Max because my wife Georgia had been a coach on the reality show Grease, You're the One That I Want, which was basically a televised audition process to hire the leads of the 2007 Broadway production of Grease, which Max actually won.
Can you believe it?
No, I can't believe this.
But because I had met him during that process, I knew that Max was more than just Danny Zuko. Max is a lot of things. He's really funny without being mean. He's sincere and he's charming, but he's not sentimental. And he's quirky, which is to say he's unexpected without being like weird. He's got a great voice, but he's not a showboater. He's just a laid-back, no-sweat, 420 kind of energy that attracts people to him like he's a Labrador puppy. So we needed someone who would be inventive in the room and have good energy and fun ideas, and that's how Max joined our cast for a staged reading of The Connector at New York Stage and Film in 2018. And in that reading, he played Ethan's older brother, Billy, and also Waldo, who's the main character in Ethan's first published story. As far as the story of our show goes, that first article of Ethan's has to be an exciting and individual enough piece of writing that it attracts the attention of Conrad O'Brien, one of the legendary talent spotters in the magazine world, and then make the readers of The Connector sit up and take notice of this new hot young writer. That's a daunting task for a songwriter to take on, and as with everything in The Connector, it's also layered with a lot of other theatrical goals. So let me talk about how I approached it. Okay, except success was not, in fact, the first version of this moment in the show. Hi, Miles. Even before Sherm had come on the project, I had been toying with the idea that Ethan's first story was about a high school baseball star named Waldo, whose game is transformed when his coach hooks him on steroids. Sherm had helped refine that idea, and eventually I wrote a number called The Next Big Leap, which we did in most of the readings and workshops. But there were 2 problems with the song, and they didn't really have anything to do with the song itself, which is actually a pretty great number. First, the events of the song all took place in Shippensburg, Pennsylvania, and we wanted The Connector to be a very New York-centric publication. But the bigger problem was that it needed to be sung by a 16-year-old boy. Max actually did the song in that 2018 reading. And it confirmed 2 things for all of us. 1, Max Crumm was immensely talented and definitely the kind of actor we wanted in our company. And 2, nobody wants to watch a grown-ass man playing a 16-year-old boy. So that killed the song off. So now I've got to write the new song. I thought back to what my life in New York City was like when I was Ethan's age, 22 or 23 years old. And for whatever reason, I remembered that when I played in the piano bar at 88's in the West Village, there was a semi-regular game of Scrabble that happened in the back of the bar. Now, Sherm and I are both word freaks, and I knew he'd get excited when I suggested that instead of being a baseball genius, Waldo could be a Scrabble genius. Sherm enthusiastically wrote a monologue to that effect, and then the ball was in my court. So this is October 2018. We had another reading scheduled for mid-December, so I've got 2 months to write it. Should be plenty of time. Let's get started.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Ethan is 22 years old, and he's writing a story to impress people and get their attention. So in order to write this, I had to get myself back in the head of being that young writer, unshakably determined to make his mark on the world. The music for The Next Big Leap was a straight-ahead 80s rock feel, like a Bryan Adams song. But since I was now tailoring this new song to Max, I wanted to do something more soulful and a little more grown-up. Thus it was that I decided that my template should be Uptown Funk. I'm jumping ahead a little bit, but when I started writing the music, I remembered that I had seen a video where Donald Fagen demonstrated how the verses of Peg were really just a blues form with some respelled chords.
Precisely a 12-bar blues.
I thought that was a fun idea to play with here, so let's take a look. I'm varying the phrase lengths a lot, but I'm pretty clearly doing a 1-4 thing. Here's the 1 hanging around B, and then we move to the 4, the E, until we get to here. And all of this harmonic craziness is just substitutions for the 5, which I finally land on right here, just before we hit the chorus. Okay, Uptown Funk, Peg, so I knew something about the music. I knew what the story was about. I had the actor. It's now November, but I couldn't write the song. There's an order of operations to this, and it's not inviolable, but even once I've got a lot of the ingredients, I still need something that gets the machine started. Often I'll just be walking the dog, and the first line of the song will come to me, and then I can sit down and write it. But with this song, no matter how many times I walk the dog, a first line would not come. It's December. We're now in rehearsal for the reading, and the script just says, Waldo song to come. And then I figured it out. The song would all take place during one Scrabble game. And the first line of the song needed to be the first word that Waldo played. My mental summary of the verse was, here's my first word, now admit you're in over your head and get lost, punk. I couldn't do anything until I figured out what word Waldo played first. I knew that it needed to be an obscure word. It needed to be a word that would get a lot of points. And it needed to be 6 letters or less. I didn't want him to bingo on his first move because that seemed sort of over the top. So I thought, let me come up with the last word of the verse first, and then I can find something that rhymes with it. That'll be the word. Get lost. So long. Farewell. Good luck. Bye-bye. Hasta la vista. Sayonara. 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 Now I'm in your head, so sayonara. The melody starts building itself. Now I'm in your head, so sayonara. It's primarily around rhythmic ideas, but it starts building. Now, what rhymes with sayonara? Nothing rhymes with sayonara. It's a Japanese word. So I go to the dictionary. Ara, bara, kara, dara, yara, fara, gara, hara, yara, jara. Jara! It's a plant. A tree. Apparently the wood is a very common material in Australia. I never heard of it, but there it is. Jara. I check the Scrabble dictionary to make sure it's accepted. It is. Done. I have my first line. I wrote the song in about 4 hours. Sherm had sent me his monologue on October 5th. I didn't write a note or a word of the song until December 10th, which is good because we had our presentation on December 14th. Max had 3 days to learn a virtuosic showstopper of a number that had been written just for him. And he knocked it out of the park, so we kept him in the cast. What I didn't know, and I'm kind of glad I didn't, is that Jara doesn't actually rhyme with sayonara. It's really pronounced
Jara.
Which I only found out at the first preview of the show when a fan from Australia pointed it out to me. And my totally honest response, which I stand behind, is that in the same way I didn't know how it was pronounced, Waldo doesn't need to know how it's pronounced. He's only ever seen it in a dictionary, and pronunciations are of no import to Scrabble freaks at all.